It's your man Alex, and in this video I'm going to be showing you my take on a comb-over taper mullet self haircut. So let's get right into it. Now to get started with the first guideline, I'm using my trimmers and I'm just going up slightly around my temples, giving it like a rainbow-like shape, going up maybe half an inch around my ear. Notice how I'm only going up a tiny bit. The reason why is because for each guideline, I'm going to go up about half an inch because there's so much hair that I'm blending into from short to long. I have to make the guidelines really short. So I'm going to be doing a lot of guidelines, about half an inch for each of them. And so for the second guideline, I'm using the no guard lever open and going up half an inch. Now to fade in that hard line that you just created using the no guard lever open, you need to go back and do a 3-step process. I know it sounds crazy, it sounds like a lot, but believe me, it's really simple and super fast. So you're gonna go in with the no guard lever halfway, and you're gonna go up halfway through the hard line. That's gonna soften up about 50% of the hard line. Then you're going to close the lever completely, right? That's step 2 in the 3-step process. That's going to remove about 90-ish%, 95% of the hard line. So if you still see a hard line after step 2, step 3 is going back to your trimmers and using the corners of the trimmers with a flick out motion to fully remove that middle hard line. For the next guideline, I'm using the half guard lever open and I'm going up another half an inch, still keeping that rainbow-like shape. Now notice the only way I can keep that rainbow-like shape, which is going to make the haircut look the way that I want it, like a mullet taper, I need to use the corners of the clipper the entire time. Notice how I'm not using the entire clipper blade. Notice how I'm just flicking out using the corners to go up that half an inch, and I'm not using the entire blade of the clipper. Now using the half guard with the lever closed, go in with the flick out motion to remove the hard line. The next guideline is going to be with the number 1 guard lever open, and we're still going to be creating that rainbow-like shape, still going up half an inch. A good tip for this guard is going to be to freehand as you're going up that half an inch for the guideline. So as you're going up with the clipper, you're kind of freehanding up and away from the hair and just letting the longer length on top fall into the cutting blades. Still using the number 1 guard, close the lever completely and just use the corners and the flick out motion to get rid of that middle hard line. With the 1.5 guard lever open, I'm creating the next guideline, still going up half an inch, and I'm still following that freehand movement with the clippers. So I'm going up, not digging directly into that longer length because that's just going to create another hard line and I don't want that. So what I'm doing is creating the shape of the self haircut by freehanding and just letting those longer length of hairs on top of where I'm cutting fall into the clipper blades as I move the blades up my head. Now using the 1.5 guard with the lever closed, go in and flick out with the corners to remove that middle hard line. Another thing I want to mention is if you find yourself struggling with self haircuts, it's probably because of either your lighting or your mirror setup. So if you're struggling with either of those, especially your mirror setup, which is most likely the problem, check out my video on YouTube. It's called The Best Mirror Setup for Self Haircuts, and it's going to show you exactly how my mirror setup is so you can start mastering self haircuts today. Because you don't have a skill problem, you have an environment problem. Now for the final guideline, I'm using the number 2 guard lever open and I'm still going up half an inch, but most of the time because I'm by the longer length on top and I don't want to create a really hard line, I'm just going to be freehanding, and notice how I'm just going up, creating the shape and letting all those longer hairs on top just fall into the blades as I'm guiding the clippers up my head, and I'm just creating the shape with that motion. Now to really make that blend super clean from the fade on the sides into that longer length on top, you're going to need to use the thinning shear over comb technique, and this is one of the easiest and safest techniques you can use, and it's very affordable too, and it just really makes the haircut stand out and look so much cleaner. So I submit to you, if you can master cutting your own hair, taking it to the next level would be using thinning shears, which is definitely, in my opinion, a more beginner skill, especially because thinning shears are practically like safety scissors and they don't cut off a lot of hair. Now, in addition to the thinning shears, if you want to take your self haircut to an even bigger level, give yourself a clean lineup using your trimmers. Preferably if your trimmers have a T-blade, which is basically just the trimmer blade is in the shape of the capital letter T. This blade on the trimmer is going to make these lines so sharp and clean all the way around your head, and it's going to make the haircut really come together and put that cherry on top. And when it comes to the lineup, you need to be very careful, be very cautious, because remember, these trimmers move very fast and any quick or sudden movement could mess up your haircut. But of course, because you have the proper setup and you're patient, you're breathing, you're drinking water, you're calm, it's easy and it won't be an issue. So what I like to do is actually hold my trimmers really close to the cutting blade, so my fingers are right next to the cutting blades, and that gives me maximum control when I'm cutting my own hair and giving myself a lineup. So as you guys can see right here, look how close my fingers are to the cutting blades on the trimmers, because that gives me the utmost control, and there's no way that I can make any mistakes by keeping my hands that close to the trimmer blades and having that much control over the tool that I'm using. So because I'm going for a comb-over taper mullet, I'm using some Claymation, which is a high hold matte finish product. But also, if you're like me and you have thick hair, you're probably going to need to wet your hair just a tiny bit so that you can work the product through your hair a little bit better, and it flattens the hair ever so slightly, because if you've got thick hair, it's just a volume mess, right? So I'm going in, using the comb, straightening it out with my fingers, and really forming that shape for the comb over. This is my take on a comb-over taper mullet self haircut. Let me know in the comments below if you learned a new tip that'll help you level up your own self haircut skills. And remember, subscribe to my channel and check out this video for more self haircut tips and tricks.